Andrew says, evening all. Welcome to the podcast, by the way. Evening all. After the England internationals, do we finally have a realistic chance of beating the Australians?
No.
I disagree with that.
It was 2 inches.
Said the Australian.
I think they've got a very good chance.
Eating a World Cup win.
No, I think they do. I mean,
You don't have to butter up Sean Wayne now. He's not here. He's not here.
They've got a really
that's
good.
hardly.
I think they've got a really good chance of winning one of the 3 tests. I don't know if they've got. I don't know if they've got enough to win a series.
But that's what you have to win one game to be able, and I think they'll be very competitive. I think if you look at that team now, you've got Herbie Farnworth, who's easily one of the best centres in the world.
Yeah. And you've got Jake Wardle to come in, who's not far
fantastic player. Harry Newman, a lot of potential, great player.
Well, the great thing is you've got competition, haven't you? So
but apart from Herbie, you've got a lot of players in the NRL. You've got Dom Young, who's just a unique, massive human. You've got other players who are playing in the NRL. Your Smithies.
We've had for the last few years, even going back to the 2017 World Cup, a really good pack that can match it with the Aussies. We've got some really potent outside backs, and again, competition for places in all the 3-quarter positions. Where we've lacked in the past is the half-backs that can create. You're not going to get many chances in a game, so you've got to be so good that when they come along, you can take them. And we haven't had half-backs that can do that. Do we now with Harry Smith?
That was my point. Well, George Williams is a fantastic player, has played in the NRL, did very well. Harry Smith, is a fantastic player. And you've got Michael Lewis. There is actually depth across, and I think with a lot of those players, with Smith and Wardle, Wellesby, Matty Lees, if they might not have played in the NRL, but they've beaten NRL teams in the World Cup. So there's not that fear factor there anymore. So I think when you put that all together, and they've been, like, the unity seems to be very strong. Like, they're a very together group, while Australia, I know they're missing a few players at the moment, but they're kind of bringing in a bit of a new generation. I think England, on home turf as well, with the home crowd behind them, I think they're a genuine chance.
So there you go. That's the answer to that one, Andy. Or Andrew. Don't want to get your name wrong. What do we make of the whole series then as exciting 2-game events at Wigan and Hayes? Because of course, is the test match we're going to win against the Australians at Wigan? Or Wigan? That's the big question. Have you found the report yet saying the 3 grounds that are going to hold the Ashes series next year yet?
Well, no one knows because they haven't.
All the journalists know. All the journalists know.
They haven't actually announced the series yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Hang on.
I don't think it's officially been.
Where's Yorkshire, Lancashire? Oh, hang on.
I mean, there's lots of factors going in the fact that the majority of stadiums in the country, Rugby League doesn't control, so it'll determine who's playing there and what football teams are.
If we take it back a step, though, what is the implication behind this series may well be played over here rather than in Australia?
I think that's quite obvious.
Who's made the decision?
Yeah,
and what is the thinking behind it? Because it's almost like fattening up a turkey for Christmas.
Yeah.
So I think more than saying where will the venues be, can England win the series? That's all great. But why all of a sudden this complete volte-face that means the Aussies may be coming here when the calendar we were given by the IRL was we were going there, and all of the reaction to the back of that was it's great we're going there because it gives us the perfect preparation for a World Cup. Have we now got to the stage, possibly a rhetorical question but worth asking, where the NRL have decided under Peter V'landys and Andrew Abdo that expansion is not only on the agenda, but they have realised that the Northern Hemisphere Rugby League needs propping up. So, number one, you can have an element of Vegas. You might make some money out of that, not necessarily in year one, but you're obviously going to increase your profile. You might get a television deal out of it. You might get corporate sponsors coming on board. But obviously, if we're going to play England home or away, we've got to have a strong competition that England are in. We may need to take some vested interest in that competition. So instead of us expecting you to pay to come out here, we're going to come to you so that you can generate some money so that we can then pick it off and take what we want. Is that
I think there's
behind all
I think
of
that's part of it. I think there's 2 parts. I think the fact that the World Cup in France fell over and it's now being hosted in Australia means there's a vacancy in this market, and the fact that why would we have an Ashes series and then a World Cup in Australia, because well, you could argue whether the market needs that or whether the NRL or the ARLC actually needs the revenue.
But we were also told that the Aussies don't travel a year before a World Cup. But clearly they are prepared to travel if there's an economic imperative.
When was that decision taken for the Aussies to host it? Was that at the point that France was hosting the World Cup?
Yes, yeah, that was... Because obviously I think they were coming in 2020, and Melbourne Ingar, whenever you see him interviewing, ask him, loves the UK, loved his time at St Helens, loves kangaroo tours. I think he went on 4 of them more than anyone else. Yeah. Adrian Lamb is obviously the league coach, his assistant. I think, and you talk to the actual Australian players, they enjoy... Yeah, well...
coached over here and loved it over here.
But they enjoy coming on tour. And I think the other part of that is, as Phil said, this market is struggling. The ARFL doesn't have any money. The only reason Samoa came over was because the NRL was paying for half of their... Which has never been mentioned or talked about much, but they realise that they need this market to be strong. They need to give it a boost. And this would give it a major boost.
They wouldn't do it just for altruistic stuff.
No, they'll be getting paid well to come over. Yeah.
But are they priming themselves for greater involvement in?
Quite possibly, yeah.
Because the one thing about the Pacific Championships, which is obviously the last. I think we can say the season is actually finished after this one.
After Sunday.
Yes.
Pre-season training has already started at Hull, so we're already into next year already.
The Pacific Championships have been a success if you measure it by attendances, TV ratings, reaction from the players who are all
Tongan hymns.
All of that would indicate that they're suddenly starting to realise that there's a finite market in the club game. They will expand it, but within the realms of 20 will be the maximum number of teams they'll have, and there's been a slight delay because obviously the bids that have come in haven't met expectation. So they're looking at the American market, clearly TV betting, not necessarily to put a domestic league in America. They're looking at the market that exists in the Northern Hemisphere but is at the moment at one of its lowest ever ebbs in terms of finance. I think there's a lot more to this with the Kangaroo Tour switching at short notice than just, what venues are we going to play at? I think it's a much more fundamental discussion about where is the game going.
That doesn't get clicks though, like saying, we're going to play them in Wigan.